Helium now strikes to the lead. Along the rail, that's Candyman Rocket racing along second. Way out on the outside, Hidden Stash is absolutely in full stride. Down to the wire, it's Hidden Stash and Rafael Bejarano along the rail. Digging back gamely is Helium. Looks like we're down to two. Helium repels the challenge. It's Helium in a huge effort. Turns away the challenge.
Welcome back to another Kentucky Derby profile here on Racing Rundown. Today we're talking about Helium, the surprise winner of the Tampa Bay Derby and one of two horses in the entry for trainer Mark Casse in this Kentucky Derby. And there's a lot of things that I have to say about Helium. To start off with him, he is undefeated, and I have to say, of all the undefeated horses to come to the Kentucky Derby, this horse has to be one of the weirdest horses to come to the Kentucky Derby undefeated. This is a horse that Mark Casse, as a 2-year-old, was running up in Woodbine on the all-weather surface up there. He's got a couple of wins on that surface, including a stakes win, the Display, at Woodbine. He won that back in October of 2018. Then this horse did not race from the Display until the Tampa Bay Derby. And he won the Tampa Bay Derby, surprisingly. It was an impressive win for him because he did come from far back, and he was almost headed in the stretch by Hidden Stash. You go back and you watch that race, it looks like Hidden Stash was going to go by Helium in the stretch of the Tampa Bay Derby, and then Helium just dug in and put Hidden Stash away and went on to win by a larger margin than was the margin of the race when Hidden Stash came up to him in that race. So gained ground on Hidden Stash toward the end of the race. Very nice effort for him. I was very praising of it on the podcast after the Tampa Bay Derby when we were recapping it. So I thought that it was a good race for him, but breaking down this horse coming out of there, I think it's going to be very hard for him to win the Kentucky Derby. Yes, I understand he's undefeated, and yes, I understand that he does have a win now over the dirt surface, so you can't say, well, this is a horse who was running on the all-weather as a 2-year-old and now now has won a dirt stake. He's not exclusively experienced to the all-weather, so that's not something that I'm going to use to knock him, because it's not something you can use to knock him. He's proven himself on dirt before, but what I'm going to say about him that I think bodes very poorly for him is the fact that this horse has not run since the Tampa Bay Derby. Now, this is not completely unheard of. Todd Pletcher did it with one of his Kentucky Derby starters from 2016. Destin, who won both the Sam Davis and the Tampa Bay Derby, did not run between the Tampa Bay Derby and the Kentucky Derby, and he ran a very respectable 6th-place finish. So, it's not like this is an automatic, this horse is not going to win just because of him not running between the Tampa Bay Derby and the Kentucky Derby, but the circumstances are different between Helium and Destin. Helium is going to be going into the Kentucky Derby off of one race in a span of time between October and May. October 2018 to May 2021, with one race between those two starts. And the Tampa Bay Derby was not the greatest field in the world, and I'm not someone who likes to nitpick fields that horses beat going into the Kentucky Derby, but you only have one other horse in there that went on to make the Kentucky Derby, and that was Hidden Stash, and Hidden Stash didn't really run too well in the Bluegrass in his most recent start. And you look at horses like Sittin' on Go and Candyman Rocket, who in prep races following this, both ran very uninspiring efforts. So at the end of the day, this wasn't the greatest field that Helium beat, and it also, there's the layoff question with this horse. So, and the thing that's different about Destin, going back to Destin for a minute, Destin had a start in each month between December and March. He had run in an allowance in December, and in the Lecomte in January, and then the two stakes preps at Tampa, the Sam Davis and the Tampa Bay Derby, in February and March, respectively. So this was a horse that had a lot of races underneath him going into the Tampa Bay Derby, and so you could be more confident about him taking the time off between the Kentucky Derby and being able to say, okay, well, this horse is still in form. And that's not the case with Helium. He's going to be coming off of one race. That was his one start on dirt. So I'm not going to say that he can't get the dirt, because he obviously did it in the Tampa Bay Derby, but that's one start between October and May, and then also his one start on dirt, and it wasn't against the greatest group of horses. Now, there's one other historical note against him. There has been one horse in modern Kentucky Derby history that has had a start going 1 1/16 miles as their last prep race going into the Kentucky Derby, who then went on to win the Kentucky Derby, and that was Charismatic. And that's not really a great example, because Charismatic had run at 1.125 miles in his prior start in the Santa Anita Derby. So that's not really something that you could say that, okay, well, Charismatic did it. Charismatic had also run going 1.125 miles, and that gets to the other point with this. So not only has a horse not done it in over 20 years, but also, and I think more significantly, I was not able to find in modern Kentucky Derby history an example of a racehorse that had not gone at least 1.125 miles in their final prep race before the Kentucky Derby. So I could be wrong. I know that there are horses, the most recent one following Charismatic to have not won a Kentucky Derby prep race at 1.125 miles as their last prep was Tim Tam in 1958, but even Tim Tam had 1.125 miles experience. So this is something unprecedented. So the fact that this horse only has one start between October and May, only one start on dirt, and it was not against a great field, also hasn't gone 1.125 miles, are some things that are deal breakers for me. This horse is very weird, like I mentioned, because he's undefeated, but he's probably going to be rather high on the odds Kentucky Derby day, and he's going to be there for good reason, because this is a horse who has a lot going against him going into the Kentucky Derby. I will say, though, if I am going to say something positive about him, he is a fighter, so you can't take that away from him, but a lot of things concern me about him. He hasn't gone 1.125 miles in his career, and so he's going to be jumping up from 1.16 miles to 1.25 miles. Plus, the schedule of his races are some things that I'm also not comfortable with. So that's the reason why I'm going to be against Helium going into this Kentucky Derby. But if you really liked his gameness in that Tampa Bay Derby, then you may be able to justify picking him for yourself. Just, he's not going to be for me. So thank you for tuning into this preview, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Wide, super classy the centre. Exceed trying to run from the back. Down the lane, McLean's posse in front. Joining is Helium. Helium on the outsides. Run to the front from McLean's posse. Up the rails, Exceed and Decimator down the outside. But Helium's burst away. And it's Helium well out in front in the display stakes. And Helium is going to win again. Helium a stakes winner today by 4 lengths. Gospel Way second.